Hi there everybody, Trudy here with One Grounded Angel, and this is the weekly angel card reading video for the week beginning Monday the 17th of June to the 23rd, Sunday the 23rd of June 2019. Right, I'm going to pick a card deck now. Go with this one, which I haven't used for a little while. And let's see what comes up. So Monday is actually the day of the Sagittarius full moon. And Sagittarius is the sign of optimism. So it's a good time to change our mindset a little and be a bit more positive. And it's also the sign of, I was going to say kind of, I don't mean to say this in a negative way. It's a sign of like having strong opinions and expressing your truth, but I don't mean in a forceful, shove them down your throat kind of way, although perhaps you could go to that extreme. But what I mean is speaking your truth and really owning who you are, authenticity. Those are kind of typical Sagittarian attributes, as are being global. So you might look at some international travel and sort of international affairs, so meeting people from different countries. Higher education, it's a good time to look at learning, such as courses, seminars, all that sort of stuff. I think it's also around philosophy as well. So you might get some downloads around, philosophy in terms of where you're going, etc. The meaning of life, maybe. Anyway, this is a very non-Sagittarian card that's come up here, financial healing. So, but look, who doesn't need that? So the way this is going to hit you depends on where you're at in your life, obviously. So I would say the meaning of the card is about letting go of the struggle around money. That's going to be really hard for some of you if you are in poverty. But for those of you who are not at that extreme end, you might look at how you're not helping your situation, because often our money issues can be the result of a lack of planning or the result of a stick your head in the sand and ignore it kind of situation, which was my approach to my superannuation for a very long time. But luckily I'm now in a relationship with an economist, so that's not happening anymore. But yeah, it's funny how you can avoid, in my case, you can avoid something because it's just in the too hard basket. But the minute you start taking charge of a situation, you feel so empowered and you're like, why did I not do this a long time ago? So maybe this is a bit of a wake-up call for you. I'm also getting a message that some of you need to look at the way you're using money for emotional bolstering. So maybe it's retail therapy, or you're buying things to make yourself feel better in some way, and it's not really working, and it's buying more problems in terms of debt or something like that. No judgment. As I said, I'm certainly not a financial expert. So look at where the healing needs to happen and what you can do to facilitate that. If you are trying to attract more money at the moment, you might look at some of the beliefs that are contributing to that. Perhaps you grew up in poverty and you've taken on board some of that fear of scarcity, which can really inadvertently shape what you attract. So you might like to work with an energy healer to kind of heal those patterns and those fears, because as you know, what we put the most of our attention into is what we attract, those fears. So also, the other thing that comes up with money is sometimes when we ask for abundance, we're not really specific about the fact that it needs to be money. So you might be receiving abundance in other ways that are not money. So maybe you're getting, I don't know, I've given this example before, but I once got a free holiday. I asked for more abundance and I got a free holiday. Amazing, but wasn't what I asked for. So I was really happy with it, but it just taught me to be a lot more specific about I wanted the money in the future. But don't get me wrong, I certainly wasn't ungrateful for what I received. It was amazing, and it was actually what I needed at the time. So yeah, look at a lot of money stuff there that we could talk about, but I think I'm going to leave it a bit more open. I've covered a lot of ground, and hopefully you guys can take that and run with it. Let's look at Tuesday here. Energy work. How convenient. I was just talking about energy healing. So for some of you, this is a cue to do some energy healing if you've been thinking about it. For others of you, this is asking you to be more aware of energy in general. So you might know, or you might not know, that we have an energy field around us. It's often called an aura, and that's you know how sometimes you can feel like someone's entering the room before they're physically there. That's the aura preceding them, the energy that's around them. Or an example that's often been given is you can be thinking about someone and then the phone rings and it's them. That's because they're thinking about you and your energy is picking up on their energy, and so you're already aware of that connection, and then it physically happens. Or you walk into them as you're going down the street. Those sorts of things can be the result of energy connecting. And also, the thing I often talk about when I bring up energy to people who are not really familiar with it is the way that you can take on board other people's energy. So you can catch a bad mood, you can feel other people's sadness to the point where you are incredibly sad as a result. It becomes your sadness too. That's all energy stuff, and maybe the message for you with this is to watch how you manage your energy, i.e. not spending time with really toxic people if you can avoid it. Maybe limiting the time that you spend with people, or not engaging in those really bitchy or gossipy conversations. Maybe, those are main ways, but also look at how you can use energy to help you, i.e. spending time with really uplifting people who are going to help you when your mood is struggling. And some of you need to be aware also of the way your energy is affecting other people. If you have people that you use just entirely to dump your problems on all the time, and you're not really letting them air their grievances or helping them in any way, that's an energetic imbalance, and you might like to look at that. Now, by the way, that light, that's from the sun. It's not energy. Although some of you who've been watching my videos for years know that there can be orbs of light that drift through these videos. I never watch them because I hate looking at myself when I'm speaking or anything like that, but sometimes people have told me and I've gone back and seen them, and you can see it, but that's not it. That is literally the sun. So Wednesday, a message about self-compassion here. Be gentle with yourself. So we are our own worst critics, and this is reminding you that if you are going through a hard time, you've failed at something, to talk to yourself the way you would with a loved one or a friend. The things that you would say to them, it's okay, it's going to be all right, you might have failed, but you're not a failure, all that sort of stuff. Say it to yourself. You really need to be your own supporter, because if you're not, you're going to attract people who are not supporting you either. We need to be aware of the way our relationships with ourselves affects our external relationships, and determines the caliber of those as well. So, and I'm not saying if you've got toxic people in your life that it's your fault, but perhaps if you believe on some level that you are not a good person, or that you deserve to suffer, it may be that you inadvertently attract people who reinforce that message. So be aware of how you can be contributing to the situation rather than coming at this from a place of blame. But so just be gentle with yourself. We do need to understand where we're going off track. We do need to acknowledge where we've got work to do. So I'm certainly not suggesting we try and paint over a mouldy wall. We do need that level of self-awareness. But what I'm saying, abusing yourself, running yourself down, rejecting yourself as a result is not going to help. Acknowledge your feelings, look at what's going on honestly, and then figure out how you're going to fix it. And you might like to see a counsellor or a therapist or an energy healer to help you with that. So we need to be honest with ourselves, but not in a you suck kind of way, if I can put it like that. We need to hold space for our own healing and remember that we're all deserving of love. Well, when I say things like that, it can make people think of, well, what about the person down the road who did this to me? Let's just bring it back to focusing on yourself instead and keep it really simple. So nurture, this card always annoys me because the spacing on it's terrible. Look at that giant space. I don't know if that's just because I work in publishing that it annoys me, but anyway. So the message here could be about nurturing yourself. So as I said just before, encouraging yourself, being your own best friend, supporting yourself, those things are really important with this card. Because it's about also nurturing your own inner child in a way. So you might like to think of yourself as a little kid. If you're a kid who's fallen over or failed in some way, what are you going to say to that little kid? Are you going to say, ha ha, or, well, you deserve that? No, I'm sure you're not. You're going to say, it's okay, you're still a good person, and I don't know, anything you can do to nurture yourself. You don't get a plant to grow by trampling on it. You nurture it by giving it water and encouraging it. So, yeah, whatever analogy works for you, go with that. So, yes, there is a message here about self-compassion, but it may also be literal for some of you about who have children. Those of you who are parents and need to give your kids a little bit more guidance in some way and make sure they're getting everything they need at the moment, instead of giving them a sort of cookie cutter approach. Maybe one of your kids needs a bit of a different approach in some way, or needs someone to kind of recognize what's going on for them because they can't articulate it. Yeah. And you might need to use your intuition to do that. Call on Archangel Gabriel to help. That is the angel associated with parenting, and also with conception as well. Sacral chakra. You guys know I love the chakras, or the chakras. I say it both ways. So they are energy centers, which energy ideally will flow through, but it can get blocked when the chakras, these discs, are out of balance or blocked. And this is the second major one, and it's associated with feelings. It's associated with sexuality. It's associated with creativity. So Doreen Virtue calls it the sex, drugs, and rock and roll chakra, because when it's out of balance, it can result in addictive kind of dependent behavior, and in particular of the chemical variety. And it can also, as I mentioned, sex is certainly, and not that sex is a bad thing, obviously, very popular activity, but unhealthy sexual behaviors. So perhaps, you're suppressing your sexual energy in some way, perhaps, or shaming yourself in some way, or letting people shame you. I don't know. It could be, that's a huge area. Let's not go down that track. Yeah, and pleasure. Pleasure is the major thing. So you with this chakra, so you can see how that relates to, obviously, feelings and emotions, and sex. Might also show up in, I guess, what's the way? Sorry, I'm struggling to articulate myself here, but sometimes the way we reach for pleasure is not the healthiest, and junk food would be a really good example for that. Now, I'm certainly not going to shame anyone for junk food. It's a big pleasure of mine, but sometimes when people have no pleasure in their lives, the reason they struggle with their weight is because they reach for junk food. It's the only thing that gives them any pleasure, because they're too busy running around after everybody else, and the only thing they've got that's just theirs is to eat whatever. And so sometimes we need to look at the way we are deriving pleasure in our lives. Are we denying it to ourselves? If so, we're going to possibly look for not the best outlets to take it. So remembering that you're deserving of pleasure. I say whether, but you're deserving of pleasure. You're worthy of it, and if you deny it to yourself, then you're out of balance. You're gonna, and all sorts of things can happen. Then you can you start to feel low mood, all sorts of things. But obviously we need healthy outlets for that. And it's usually when we're denying ourselves pleasure that those sort of unhealthy tendencies can come up. And I don't want to say that there's something wrong with you if you're reaching for unhealthy vices to feel pleasure, but I am saying maybe you could see that as maybe you could understand what's really going on there, and have some self-compassion for yourself, and look at how can I make a better choice next time. What are the behaviours I need to do in my life that prevent me from getting to this point? Esther Perel, who's an incredible relationships expert, talks about how when people have affairs, it's not because they are looking for something that's missing in their relationship, it's because they are looking for something that's missing within themselves. So they are looking for a lost part of themselves. They're looking for the part that is passionate, that is enjoys pleasure, and obviously hurting someone, your partner, to go get it is not the best way to do it. But maybe part of the way to keep your relationship healthy is to have a better relationship with yourself, where you are giving yourself pleasure in more constructive, less damaging ways before it gets to that point. Again, not trying to judge anyone, I'm just throwing out examples here. So if this chakra is blocked, it may be that you're struggling with pleasure. Maybe there are sexual blocks, maybe there are creative blocks. Creativity is a big one here with this chakra. And creativity is something that we do put into a box. Oh, that's just for artists, that's just for writers. I have struggled, because I am a writer, I have struggled to express creativity on a personal level, rather than thinking, oh, that's just for my work. In actual fact, I get a lot of pleasure when I actually do it just for myself, for something that I'm not going to sell to someone or is not going to be published. And so spending more time doing that has helped me enormously. In particular, it's helped me with my insomnia. big part of my insomnia was that my creative energy had no outlet. So I'm lying awake at night thinking about all these different things. And so since I started devoting more time to drawing, not a good drawer, doesn't matter. I loved sketching and doing my own personal writing. That has helped me so much. And the only reason I learned that is by working for an energy healer. So whenever there's an imbalance, something's not being expressed in your life, you might need a bit of help from an energy healer, which is a service I offer, to help you address what really might be going on. Because it's, we all have energy that needs to be expressed, in particular creative energy in some way. That's probably enough. Oh, emotions. Forgot emotions. Big emotion. Oops, sorry. Big emotional energy with this chakra. If you are struggling to express yourself emotionally, it can cause blocks all over the place and adversely affect your well-being. So that might be something that you look at when it comes to that chakra. Now, I just realised I'm on Saturday now. The last card deck, I'm going to have to do a really glamorous reach for. In fact, this card deck's not working, so excuse me while I reach over here and grab it. Didn't plan that one so well, did I? So we're going for Saturday. Yep, this feels good. Great. Okay, self-acceptance. Whew, I love that this came up when we've been talking about self-compassion. So one of the reasons people might not be giving themselves self-compassion is because they don't really believe they deserve it. They're comparing themselves to other people and feel like they're not good enough. All sorts of things can be going on here. It might be body issues coming up here. It might be, almost certainly it is related to comparison to other people and seeing yourself as lacking. So angels have not been human. So they don't know what it's like to be human. They don't know what it's like to be in this earthly form where you are part of social media, where you are constantly seeing everybody else's highlights reel, and the damage, well, not damage, but the way that can impact the way you see yourself. That the drive for perfection is huge at the moment. It has been through history, but in a different form it is now, particularly strong. And so when the angels are saying you're good enough, you're already perfect, they mean it and it's true, but it might be hard for you to hear that if you are struggling because you are comparing yourself to that glamorous bikini model or that mum who has the perfect house and the most well-behaved kids, whatever it is. The angels would always encourage you to come back to a place of seeing yourself as being good enough. And this is something you might like to work with an expert for, because it is hugely transformative if you can deal with this, because I know from personal experience that it's only when I've been able to disconnect from worrying about how I look and connect to my own intuition and feel secure within myself that I've had the most growth. Well, maybe not the most, because there's been growth across the board and all sorts of things I've been working on in my life. But in particular, the self-acceptance, once you come from a place of I'm enough, it's huge. So, and that's really what the card is trying to tell you, that you are good enough, and to not see yourself as lacking. Yes, there may be things you still need to learn. Almost 100% there are things you still need to learn. There are things you are not completely polished at yet. That's all normal, and try not to see that as a failure as much as an opportunity for you to develop something as you go forward. We're not supposed to be perfect in the sense of being flawless or totally polished, but we're perfect in the sense that we're not broken in any way. Yes, there is healing to be done and things to be learned, but you're already perfect. You're starting from that baseline. You're not starting from a place of I'm a piece of trash who has got nothing going for me. You're starting from a place of you're a child of the universe. You don't need to earn love. You don't need to earn any kind of approval from other people. And as you probably know, trying to seek approval from other people is just a recipe for disaster. You'll never be able to convince yourself that you matter. Look at celebrities. They have people fawning all over them, and a lot of them still don't like themselves. So this is a big focus. Really big focus, and I'd suggest if you haven't got anything to work on this year, you've fallen off the wagon with your goals or whatever, this is the most incredible thing you could be focusing on right now. How am I going to like myself better? You don't have to love yourself. That's a bridge too far for a lot of people. But working on it, really accepting yourself and seeing yourself as whole, not as someone who's lacking, not someone who needs to be in a relationship to be complete, which is also a unwinnable battle. Really focusing on accepting yourself is the best thing you could ever do for yourself. So let's pick up the deck I abandoned and move on to Sunday now. Golden opportunity. Important doors are opening for you right now. Walk through them. So we've had a lot of kind of motivation, momentum, energy in the past few weeks, really asking us to go for it. Excuse me. Now, some of you will not be able to do that because you are scared. And so I suggest you get a coach or someone who can help you work through it. And always remember that there's never going to be a point in which you completely slay fear and it's vanished. Even Beyonce is scared. I'm 100% sure of it. So please don't put anyone on a pedestal and go, I can't do that because I'm scared and they're not. That's why they're a success and I'm a failure. Try not to put anyone on a pedestal. In fact, we're all the same. But really, this is giving you the impetus to start. If you don't want to start on what you need to do, what you know you need to do, because it seems too overwhelming, those messages last week about breaking things down into small steps, that is probably the best piece of advice anyone can ever give you if you want to know how to move forward with what you want to achieve in the world. And what they're trying to do here is to tell you this is the time to start. You don't have to do it all at once, but you do have to get started. And if you don't, in a year's time, you will look back with some regret and you'll wish you had started already. So our lives in this lifetime are very short. You don't want to waste any more time thinking, you don't want to waste any more time going, oh, if only. Just get started. The universe will rush in to help you. The universe responds to action. You must get started and then the energy will come in to support you. One step at a time. Okay, that's the week. So huge focus this week on self-acceptance and self-compassion. What else have we got? I think that's probably it, really. Yeah, that's the big theme. Some other little things to work on, working with our energy and clearing up any blocks in the sacral chakra. And just, yeah, some great motivation here. That's it for the week. Thanks for watching. I'm taking a little break at the moment. I'm going on a holiday, but you can still reach out, and I am taking appointments for when I'm back. So please don't let me being away stop you from trying to book in, because I already have people trying to book me for when I'm getting back, so there will be a delay. So I suggest you try and get in now so that I can make sure you're locked in for when I'm back on deck. Thanks very much for watching. These go on my social media at One Grounded Angel. That's my Instagram handle, and my Facebook page is called One Grounded Angel, and you don't need to be on Facebook to see that. So if you want to make an appointment, go to my website www.onegroundedangel.com. That's O-N-E, not the number one, O-N-E written out as a word, and head to the bookings page. And there's also the healing page if you want to hear more about energy healing, since it has come up. But you don't have to work with me. There are tons of amazing energy healers out there, so just be open to it. If you're not quite sure yet, just be open, create space, and when the time is right, you'll know. Thanks everybody. Have an amazing week.